Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are going on a fascinating, globe-trotting journey to uncover the history of everyone's absolute favorite frozen treat. We all know and love ice cream, but how we went from ancient emperors to modern-day neighborhood parlors is a story filled with bizarre flavors, groundbreaking engineering, and, honestly, a surprising amount of mystery.
So, naturally, the very first thing we have to ask is who actually invented it? We always want that clean, simple answer, right? Give us an exact year or a specific inventor. But the truth is way more complex and honestly, way more fascinating. The answer isn't a single person or even a single country. It's actually this incredibly beautiful shared human pursuit. Now, what's really interesting about this is that you've probably heard the famous origin stories. The ones that say Marco Polo brought the recipe back from China, or that Catherine de' Medici brought it over to France, or maybe that King Charles I kept a secret ice cream maker. Well, there is literally not a scrap of historic evidence for any of these tales. Actually, most of these myths seem to have been completely made up by the Victorians. So let's just wipe the slate clean and look at what actually happened.
Which brings us to an independent global invention. Turns out, humans worldwide just really craved a cold treat.
The truth is, ice cream wasn't invented just once. It was invented over and over again by cultures that had absolutely zero contact with one another. By 400 BCE, people over in Persia were eating falude, which is this frozen dessert made with rosewater and noodles. Meanwhile, by 200 BCE, China was freezing these mixtures of milk and rice. And it actually wasn't until the 1600s that water ices and sweetened milk really took hold in Europe. Think about that. There were no shared recipes or trade routes connecting a Persian dessert maker to a Chinese royal kitchen back then. It just beautifully illustrates that the desire to take something cold and turn it into something joyful is an ancient, universal human instinct. And the sheer diversity of these early recipes is just wild. Ancient India had early versions of kulfi, using slow frozen milk, pistachio, saffron, and cardamom. Persia was using lime juice and delicate noodles. But the Tang dynasty in China, they took a surprisingly different approach. They heated fermented buffalo and goat milk, thickened it up with flour, and then flavored it with camphor. Yeah, camphor. As in the pungent, minty stuff we put in vapor rubs today. To them, it was an absolute delicacy. But knowing the recipes is only half the battle. We also have to look at the secret science of freezing and how exactly they overcame 50 degrees Celsius desert heat. I mean, think about this for a second. How do you freeze water or milk in regions that can reach a blistering 50 degrees Celsius when you have no electricity, no mechanical freezers, and no fuel? Well, the ancient Persians completely solved this with the yakchao. These were towering, meticulously engineered mud domes. They utilized a process called radiative cooling, which effectively harnesses the cosmic physics of the clear night sky to literally chill water to the point of freezing. And then they'd store that ice for months, right in the middle of a baking desert. This 2,400-year-old zero-emission technology is so genuinely brilliant that modern scientists are actively studying it right now to design net-zero cooling systems for cities of the future. So, okay, once you have the ice, you need the chemistry. Early Asian and Arab scholars discovered an incredible chemical trick. You don't just put food on ice. You have to mix the ice with salt. Mary Randolph's famous 1824 cookbook, The Virginia Housewife, explicitly detailed this whole process for early Americans. You had to submerge a strong pewter basin containing your cream right into that salty ice. And she really stressed using strong pewter, because if you used tin, it could wear right through, and salty water would leak in and totally ruin your dessert. From there, you just constantly churn and scrape the freezing edges. By simply mixing that salt with the ice, the freezing point drops drastically, easily hitting the crucial threshold of minus 14 degrees Celsius. And that right there is the exact extreme environment you need to force the cream inside that pewter basin to actually freeze and become ice cream, instead of just sitting there as cold milk.
Having unlocked the science, it eventually became a treat for the elite. This was the ultimate status symbol.
We really have to understand that as ice cream made its way into Europe and the Americas, it was strictly reserved for the ridiculously wealthy. At a grand Windsor Castle banquet back in 1671 for the Feast of St. George, only the guests at King Charles II's table were served exactly one plate of white strawberries and one plate of iced cream. Everyone else in that massive room just had to sit there, watch, and marvel at what the royal table was eating. Can you imagine the envy? And over in America, the founding fathers were just as obsessed. President George Washington actually had an ice cream budget of a staggering $100 for the summer of 1790 alone. To put that into perspective, in today's money, that is thousands of dollars spent entirely on frozen dairy. It was an extreme, wildly opulent luxury. But we do need to impartially report the sobering historical reality behind this luxury. As noted by the archives at Dumbarton House, pretty much anyone with a cow had access to cream. But sugar? That was a completely different story. The ice cream of the elite was only made possible by the brutal, intensely laborious sugar trade. Enslaved Africans labored in extreme heat and highly dangerous conditions on Caribbean islands to harvest and refine the sugar that sweetened all of these elite European and American desserts. And speaking of those elite desserts, let's talk about their taste buds for a second. Because the Victorians, well, they got a little weird with it. If you went to a high-end dinner, you wouldn't necessarily be getting a scoop of vanilla. You might get oyster ice cream, which was essentially frozen, unsweetened oyster chowder with the actual oyster strained out. Or maybe asparagus ice cream, physically molded to look like a stalk of asparagus. They absolutely loved savory flavors, serving Parmesan cheese or musk ice creams directly alongside their meat and fish courses. Delicious, right? Luckily for us, things shifted with the hand-cranked revolution, which finally started democratizing dessert. This mechanical turning point is what brought ice cream out of exclusive palaces and into the homes of everyday people. Before 1843, making this stuff was intensely slow. Someone literally had to manually scrape the sides of a freezing pewter pot with a tiny spade called a spattle. Just backbreaking work. But in 1843, a woman in Philadelphia named Nancy M. Johnson filed a brilliant patent for a hand-cranked machine with internal dashers. You just turned a crank on the outside and the dashers on the inside evenly scraped and smoothed the ice cream. She didn't just invent a machine here. She democratized dessert. She made it accessible, reliable, and brought this incredible joy to the masses.
And that set the stage for the rise of the parlor, driven by factories, refrigeration, and cones.
With the whole process finally simplified, the industry rapidly scaled up to become the multi-billion-gallon behemoth we all rely on today. It basically happened in 3 massive leaps. Boom, 1851. Jacob Fussell buys excess milk from farmers and builds the first mass production factory in Pennsylvania, drastically slashing the cost. Then, the real game changer. In the 1870s, mechanical refrigeration. We finally didn't have to rely on harvesting huge blocks of ice from frozen lakes in the dead of winter. And then, finally, the 20th century brings us motorized delivery trucks, taking ice cream directly into the suburbs and making it a year-round, everyday treat for everyone. Oh, and here's a crazy piece of history that completely flips a major modern misconception right on its head. Almost everybody thinks the ice cream cone was invented in America at the 1904 St. Louis World Fair, but research from the Ice Cream Alliance actually proves that the very first recording of cones being used to serve ice cream was over in England, way back in 1888 in Mrs. Marshall's cookery book. So, we've been enjoying our favorite dessert in a cone for a lot longer than the myth suggests.
And this global evolution of the ice cream parlor, it absolutely continues today. From Francesco Procopio's Café Procope, serving gelato to Parisian elites in little porcelain bowls way back in 1686, all the way to Taiwan in 2024, where a parlor named Minimal just became the very first ice cream shop in the entire world to be awarded a Michelin star. Ice cream just continues to be elevated, shared, and celebrated across the globe.
So, as we wrap up this incredible journey through time, I want to leave you with a fun, provocative question to chew on the next time you're buying a $5 scoop. If you had the chance right now, which ancient flavor would you actually be bold enough to try? The pungent, minty Tang Dynasty camphor, or the frozen, unsweetened Victorian oyster chowder? Let that bounce around in your head. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and stay curious.